really is the key behind Meera's Made from Scratch and behind my food journey. It isn't just about it isn't just about tasty food, because I think tasty food is hugely important and that should be the fundamental basis of everything anyway. If it's tasty, everyone's going to eat it. But actually, it's far more about finding out what food can do for you and why you combine certain foods together and how they.
And here we are on Tuesday the 8th with Meera Bhogal joining me on this lovely conversation on the Elevate with Anupa. We're going to be talking to Meera about healthy eating and healthy food. I really wanted Meera on this chat today because I, one, have high admiration and respect for what she does and how she does it as a foodologist. And Meera will explain more about what a foodologist does and all about her journey in becoming one. I love her food. I'm a huge fan of her turmeric mix, which I use day in and day out with me and my kids.
Yeah.
So, introducing to you Meera Bhogal from Meera's Made from Scratch.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Anupa. My goodness, what a wonderful intro. That was very heartfelt. And I think we've spent some time together over the last, what is it, year or 18 months or something?
Yeah.
We've been on that retreat together, and actually from being somebody that I kind of knew about you at your work and see what you do, and actually then be able to feed everybody and nourish everybody. That was lovely. But thank you for the lovely intro.
Meera, that's the one thing that, as you mentioned, the retreat when we were together, those are the 3 days that I actually got to know you, know how you work, and really experience not just the food that you create, but the experience along with the food and how you explain each ingredient, why you chose it the way it is. And that's why I would like you to share that with the audience today. Go for it, Meera.
Yeah, I mean, that really is the key behind Meera's Made from Scratch and behind my food journey. It isn't just about it isn't just about tasty food, because I think tasty food is hugely important and that should be the fundamental basis of everything anyway. If it's tasty, everyone's going to eat it. But actually, it's far more about finding out what food can do for you and why you combine certain foods together and how they can help you, whether it's to balance hormones or balance blood sugar levels, or to actually reduce the risk of diabetes and heart disease. It's literally about understanding what is going on inside your body, because your body is an absolutely incredible, I mean, you can't even call it a machine. It's just such an incredible thing. There are chemical reactions happening at every second, and we're creating new cells all the time. And there's just so much going on. It's so clever. So, but if we don't give our body the right information and the right fuel, it can only build cells based on what we give it. So if we give it, if we don't give our food enough vitamins and minerals and those micronutrients that we need, which are so fundamental for the creation of all the cells and what happens, you just end up having a machine or a body that just can't work at its optimum level. And it's hard, it's hard to do that, isn't it? Because we're so busy rushing around every day and living our lives and trying to deal with kids and businesses and stuff, that food sometimes is just something that we stuff in our mouth and keep going to the next meal.
It's just a function sometimes. It's like, I have to eat, and so I'm just going to put something in my body and keep going. And little do we actually realize the negative impact that it has on us. Yeah.
And it has a negative, again, so when people think about mental health, people don't think about food. People think about environment and friendships and all of that stuff. But actually, your mental health, your mental alertness, awareness, ability to function on a mental level, and again, to be productive, because it's something I've done quite a bit on, all is affected by what we eat. So food is like an absolute cornerstone in the foundation, and there's lots of things that are important. So sleep, rest, what you do, the meditation and calmness of the mind, the Reiki, all of that, tapping into that, hugely important.
Yeah.
But if you have if you sort of eat, before you're doing a session with yourself, for example, if if your mind is wired on sugar, which most of ours are, your mind is at a really heightened state of whatever it is. You can't actually tap in so easily into
Correct.
what's going on because your messages in your body and in your brain are so different. So if you can work towards eating stuff that also helps to calm you down and balances you out through the day, you then get so much more from your sessions, like the Reiki, like the meditation, like the mindfulness. So food is I mean, we've seen it ourselves. For example, if the turmeric mixture that you're having, the difference that makes, just switching to a sort of a higher quality and thinking about it a little bit more really changes and shifts how our body responds. So yeah, food is just so a foodologist is somebody who literally gets food and plays with it, experiments with it, works with it to see what you can make from it and what you can get from it. And that is pretty much what I love doing all the time. So most of my products that I sell are all kind of created by me. They're all created with a purpose in mind.
Yeah.
So all my teas, my tea range, they're very much based on helping symptoms. So they are they're therapeutic in their nature. So with the happy tummy tea, it's all about reducing bloating and IBS, and with the rose tea, it's all about kind of the blends of the herbs to make people feel calm. And then the food that I do as well is also based around, we use a lot of fermented flaxseed and chia seed, activated nuts. So again, it's all thought through so that your body is able to maximize the nutrition from whatever you're eating.
Now,
So
sorry, go ahead, Meera.
yeah, no, that's kind of what I do, and that's my passion. Whether it's adults, children, families, it doesn't matter who you work with. That ethos is still the same.
You catered a very, very specific diet for us when we were on the retreat. So we were a group of women on a retreat last year. We were there as entrepreneurs that were there to have a holistic learning experience on how to strategize our business from marketing to meditation to yoga and healthy eating. And Meera, you really focused in on the theme of the event and ensured that from breakfast, lunch, dinner, to the teas, cakes, and snacks, that you catered to this environment for us to stay alert, to
Yeah.
stay active, and to learn and to grow throughout the day without having the down and the slump that we get in the midday. So you ensured that the sugar levels, our energy levels kept going. Can you talk a little bit about that, like in terms of the ingredients that one needs to think about, or the types of food to eat to ensure that your productivity during the day is kept at optimum levels?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I give you a brief kind of synopsis of it, but really what I looked at was I used something called the glycemic index, which is a measure of how quickly foods are converted to sugar. So I used that as well as my knowledge of food in terms of the vitamins, minerals, and how they combine together well, to balance out your blood sugar level through the day, so you weren't getting the dips and the ups and downs, but also that there were enough good fats, enough vitamins such as zinc, choline, things like that in your food through the day that were working to keep your brain alert and fueled. So your brain is made up of fat, right? Your brain is 60% fat, and it is so important. We actually shy away from fat because we think fat is bad for us, but we need fat in our diet for our hormones, but also for our brain to function. So the way I use fat in the food that I'll either use coconut oil to cook with, or I'll use MCT oil, and I use a specific brand, so I'm a bit particular about what I use. I think everyone should be. Otherwise, I will use water to cook, and then I'll actually add. So I use water to cook Indian food and everything. And then I will add the oil later. So I use a really high quality organic cold pressed olive oil, and I will drizzle that over. So you're actually getting the immediate goodness of that oil straight in. Um, so that's one thing. So the way you cook and how you use fats is really important, and the way you then combine food as well. So whilst we also had on offer the granola and the berries and the yogurts and the things like that, we gave you a savory breakfast to start. So you all had either tofu or eggs, you had tomatoes in the shakshuka. So again, you've got your herbs, your spices, you've got your protein as a basic, starter, and then lots of vegetables around it to give you those carbohydrates. Um, so the idea behind that is when you're having a bowl of yogurt, which is it has natural sugar, and you're having then on top of it the granola, which again had limited amount of honey or maple syrup in it, but it still had sugar in it because of the oats and the honey in it and the dried fruit in it. You then add some berries on top. There is a likely chance that you're then going to go surging up into your very high blood sugar, and then you're going to dip right down a few hours later. So actually, by giving you a smaller amount, and it was really interesting because you all did it quite naturally. You had a little bit less of the granola than you would normally have, and then you had the breakfast, and you guys were so full. You were really really full, and but you kept going, and you were at an even keel because you balanced out your sugar in in the morning. You were able to then keep going, so it wasn't energy fueled by sugar. It was energy fueled by um, carbohydrates that weren't necessarily starchy. They were, you've got vitamins, minerals, fats, protein, fiber. That was what was fueling you, right? Not necessarily sugar. And then you had your treats and things, and I made the portion sizes quite small. And I just remember Zahara like going shock horror because she had about 10, didn't she, of these little mini cakes that I made.
Yeah.
And I just said to her, well, actually, the reason I made them mini is because you tend to grab one, right? And then you go. So if you make them smaller, your portion size is smaller. Therefore, you're going to not overload it usually, right?
Yeah.
We usually have one piece of cake. So again, portion control is hugely important. Packing in your vegetables and reducing the amount of starchy carbohydrates and grains is important because that's what keeps your level going. And then we would have lunch, and lunch would be again. It was a hearty meal. You guys were very very full. Yes, we had salads, but what we did with the salad, and what I did with the salad, the people I think underestimate the power of a salad dressing. So for me, a salad dressing is like a tonic. It is your chance to get in nutrients. So in the salad dressing, I would have the cold pressed olive oil. I would have fresh lemon juice for your vitamin C, tahini for your calcium and your iron with the sesame seeds. I'd put in a little drizzle of honey because raw honey is great for you. You need that. It's a good sugar to have. It's got medicinal properties as well. And you shake that up. You add a bit of garlic to have your probiotics, your prebiotic in there. Shake it all up and drizzle it over, and you've actually then got a tonic on top of your salad. And again, fiber and protein, because those are what's going to keep you full.
And a
Okay.
good tonic is to eat more salad.
I know, and it's yeah. I mean, it. You didn't. I don't think any of you kind of felt like you were eating a salad. It was really interesting. You all just enjoyed the food. And then again in the afternoon, we had a little bit of the same thing. The snacks were the same, in the sense that we reduced all the sugar that we use in our snacks. So we either use unrefined sugar, so honey and maple syrup, or dates, very few dates, or we reduce the amount of sugar that we get. So if you're going to make it, so another tip for you guys, if you're in a family, you've got children, whatever, if you're baking at home or making at home, and there was this huge surge, wasn't there, of everybody making and baking when they were in lockdown. And I was looking at all these recipes thinking, this is such a fantastic opportunity for everyone at home to start reducing the amount of sugar that they're using within those recipes. So start to tweak the recipe so that you reduce it by 20 or 30 grams every time you make it, so that you'll get to a sweet point at which your children or your family will go, oh, that's horrible because it's got no sugar. And you just tweak it back up again, and then that's the point. And you'll actually be surprised at how quickly you can reduce the amount of sugar. And you can also replace the refined sugar with things like banana. So if you're making a banana bread, you really shouldn't be using a lot of sugar at all. And if you're going to add some raisins to that banana bread, you really actually should not have any added sugar, maybe a bit of honey. So you can really start to play with recipes at home, and I would urge people to do that so that your children begin to get a palate which isn't based on refined sugar. So that's also quite important. Yeah.
Speaking about sugar, it just came to mind, and I thought maybe I'll put it out there for you. Would you, what is your opinion on palm sugar?
Okay.
Or,
So the
as you
thing with yeah, I know what you mean. So jaggery and things like that.
jaggery. Thank you. I was
Yeah.
looking for the jaggery. Thank you.
The only reason I know is because I get asked that question a lot. I think, okay, so I've got a lot of videos on YouTube, which I don't advertise too much. Actually, I'm terrible at my own promoting myself, but there are a lot of videos I have on YouTube, and the YouTube channel is Meera Bhogal again, that explain sugar. And I actually go through sugar in detail. I show you what sugar is, I show you what the types of sugar are, and I even do an experiment where I take a normal diet that we think is healthy,
Yeah.
and I compare it to what we think a teenage diet is. Teenager's diet, going to the chip shop, having a Mars bar, right? So I compare the two, and there's about 10 grams of difference in the sugar that you would eat. So it's actually shocking the amount of sugar that we are consuming without realizing it. So the one thing to remember, and the key thing to remember, is that sugar is sugar, whether it's honey, whether it's refined, whether it doesn't matter what form your sugar comes in, your body will deal with sugar the same way. So if you eat an excess, so if you eat too many potatoes, which convert to sugar in your body because that's fuel that's being used, if you don't use it, it just gets stored as fat. So whether you're eating coconut sugar, jaggery, honey, maple syrup, sweet potatoes, chickpeas, whatever it is you're having, yogurt, the sugar from that will be used in the same way. And if it's not used, it will then be stored. So the key thing to learn is, yes, in a way, unrefined sugars are better. Natural sugars are better, way better than processed, way better. So if you can get off the white sugars and get off the kind of processed food sugars and convert to honey, maple syrup, coconut sugar, jaggery, perfect, raw honey. But then also be mindful that those are still sugars.
Yeah.
You just have to reduce the overall intake of sugar. That's what's really, really important. So I don't know whether that answers your question, but
It does, because there's also a tag on question to that is, as you said, to stay with the natural sugars, and there's still sugar, but is there a positive health benefit to the natural sugars? Like, is there, other than it being a better sweetener, is there actually a health benefit to having maple syrup, honey, or jaggery as opposed to white sugar, brown sugar?
there may be some small benefits. So for example, with raw honey, you do have that medicinal quality to it, in that it is you can see it if you use it on your skin, if you use it within your thing, it is nourishing and nurturing in that way. So likewise with jaggery, likewise with to a certain degree maple syrup. But the so again, it's like fruit, right? So it's that same question of the sugar from fruit. So fruit is good for you, but you have to be careful, because a lot of us will substitute our chocolate for fruit thinking we're being healthy, and we are relatively being healthy, but then we overdo the fruit and you end up with a lot of fructose in your body, which then ends up being damaging, right? So it's that same thing. The thing I think we need to focus on is, move from refined sugar to the unrefined sugar. That's a big start. And then secondly, understand that we need to work towards that point where we can survive without having the overdose of sugar, right?
Yeah.
That point where in the day where, the point through your day and through your life where you can actually begin to taste the sugar in the foods that you're eating and not have to add too much sugar. But we still have to live, we still have to live life, and people love sweet things. So I always say, just work with what your taste buds are, and just keep adjusting and keep experimenting with it. But yeah, is there, yes. So if you're going to go for a donut over a jaggery coated almond, let's say, or whatever it is, um, excess of the donut is horrendous. Just throw that one away completely. The almond, jaggery coated almond, is much better for you without a doubt. But you eat too much of that, you're still going to end up with the same issue. Yeah, it's still going to have that sugar impact.
So as you said before, it comes back down to portion control again.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Portion control, thinking about what you're eating before you eat it. So mindfulness in eating is hugely important. And that again applies to the productivity where, okay, for those 3 days, I was feeding you, right? So you didn't have to think about what you were eating. And whatever I was putting in front of you, I knew I had worked out. And I knew at the end of the day as well, when we gave you dinner, and a couple of times when the plates came out, a couple of the ladies were like, "Oh, I thought I was going to be hungry after that," and they ate it, and they were really, really full. So it's very easy for us to not be mindful when we're doing food for ourselves, right? We just, like you said, just shove it in the mouth, whatever we've got. So if we've got a biscuit, we're going to have the biscuit because we need to fuel from A to B. But actually, if you were to stop and think for a second before you put that biscuit in your mouth, hold on, is there an alternative? Do I need the biscuit, or actually do I need a glass of water? Do I need to have can I have some berries and a yogurt instead of the biscuit? It's just that stopping and that mindfulness when eating, and bringing that awareness back into how the food is making you feel. So food is giving you this, whoosh, as soon as you have it, you're ready to go, right?
Yeah.
Quite often that's the food that's not 100% great. If you eat food and you think, oh yeah, you feel sort of full and you sort of feel like you can just keep going, that's a good feeling. If you eat something and it makes you feel really sluggish and tired, that's the negative. So there's two ends of that spectrum. One where you've got the super high, feeling really energized, and the other one where you've got that slump in the day, in the afternoon. No, neither of those are great. So what you've got to do is strike that balance where you're eating, again, as I say, I'm eating mindfully, but not eating. It's the sugar and the starchy carbohydrates that will do it to you, and the processed foods. Absolute no. Processed foods are so full of stuff that we don't even know what's in them. So it is really, really important to try and move away from those.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. So based on what you just said, that you fed us and you had the control over what we were eating and how much we were eating. For all of us sitting at home now, so as you know, throughout the last few months, things have changed for everybody around the world. Our entire routine, lifestyle, everything's changed. For some, for the better, because you got to be home and you got to focus on what you're eating and you got to spend some time experimenting. But I think the honeymoon phase on that is now coming to an end with the restaurants back up again and fast food deliveries. We're starting to go back down that ladder. But now schools have reopened, and obviously due to the obvious circumstance, kids are not getting a hot lunch at school anymore. And so now we've got to pack a lunch for them. So in between a healthy lunch packed first thing in the morning to working out what the rest of the meal for ourselves as adults are going to be after we've packed the children's lunch and making it through dinner, plus running our businesses or working, etc. What do you recommend? How do we at home control this? What should we be looking at, not looking at, discarding, increasing in our pantry, in our kitchen, in our habits?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question, and it's really hard. And the one thing that I say that I did myself, being in that situation, the children are so much older now, but we still do it. because if I don't do it, I'll get caught out. Don't do it as regularly as before. But when the children were younger and we were doing all of this, the one thing we did religiously every week was plan. So we planned for the week ahead, and we planned as a family. So we had 15 minutes in the week where we sat down with our blank sheet of paper, and Monday to, it doesn't need to be anything fancy, Monday to Sunday, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. And we had that going down. And we would sit down and each of us would take it in turn to um, think of something that we would like to have and eat during the week. And we would always have something from everyone. So there's four of us, and we each would have a choice. And we would have to eat what the other person had chosen. Even if we didn't like it, we had to try it and eat it. That planning really, really helped. It helped me with shopping. It helped me with saving money on waste. It also meant that the children were interested in what they were eating because they knew what they were getting, and that went up on the wall because it was a working document. So they could see. So one of them kicked off and said, "Well, I don't want to eat that yet." And I said, "Hold on a minute. You've got your meal on Wednesday. This is an acres meal today. You're just going to have to eat it. Otherwise, you don't get what you chose. Right? It's simple." That really, really helped. It also meant that they were much better at understanding. There was no for me, there was no anxiety about what is it I'm going to cook today, because that just like, what am I going to pack for lunch? What am I going to cook today? It's that constant thing in your head. It's so hard. So I knew what was coming, and I knew I had a relief in the sense that on the Sunday or whatever, on the Friday, we were all going to sit down for 20 minutes and write down what we wanted to have. I think that's absolutely fundamental. Once you do that, you can then start to incorporate things like your increase the number of vegetables that you have in the house. That's an absolute key. When you're looking at fruit and vegetables, you should be having 80% vegetables, 20% fruit. Okay, so that's the ratio of fruit to vegetables in the house. So if you can just start to slowly ease back from the processed foods and increase the fresh vegetables, and the proteins, the sources of protein, you can then start to build on that basis. But planning is absolutely key. Also, getting children to do their packed lunches. So again, with the planning, is like, what do you want in your lunch? Another thing to do is to try, if possible, and this isn't always possible, but if dinner can be lunch, so for you as an adult the next day, so what I do is whatever's, and my daughters do this now, whatever was for dinner, we have for lunch. And well, then we just keep doing that. So there's actually no stress about lunch at all. We just kind of have whatever. We change it around a little bit. So we might have it with vegetables or a salad or on toast or whatever it is you want to do, just mix it up a bit, but it's the same basic ingredient. Yeah. So I think cooking in bulk is quite important. And I know a lot of people actually cook in bulk and actually then store each meal in a plastic tub, and they're good for the week. In terms of packed lunches, I think the key there is to, as I said, stick to that 80-40 fruit, vegetable fruit, 80-20 vegetable fruit. But also vary it. So, if it's a sandwich, try and have a wrap. If it's just get children a little bit more open-minded. If you can, make your own dips. So I know we were talking about hummus the other day, I know, Nu, and obviously hummus is you've got the tahini in it. So you can't kind of you can't make real hummus, but actually you can make a dip. Something with chickpeas, you can make something with beetroot. So I do a beetroot dip, and using sort of traffic light colors, so red, green, and yellow. So one I do is a turmeric dip with butter beans. Another one I do is a broad bean and pea dip. So that's green, and then you do a beetroot dip, and that's and that's your red. And you can get these little tiny pots now, and those three dips with some bitter bread or some vegetables is a great, or crackers is a great option to have, because they are getting their fiber and they are getting their minerals and vitamins through that. Colourful food is hugely important. Keep going on about colour. We have a rainbow chart. We had a rainbow chart. We would always eat rainbow colours every day. So whether they have individual charts or four of you have a chart, as a family, and say who's the competition of who's had the most colours through the week, that really means that they're getting their array of nutrients. and vitamins and stuff through the week. So that's a really good option. So what have you got in your lunchbox that's colourful? Things like sweet potato wedges and things like that. Don't just stick to bread or wheat. Think about starchy vegetables as well as a substitute for that. And salads. I know they don't like, but like a rice salad or a pasta salad or something with oats. You could do an oat bar for them to take, which doesn't need to have any nuts and seeds in it.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. These
There's
are
a
all
lot.
suggestions. These are great suggestions. I love the ideas of the colorful dips. I love the rainbow chart. I think, let me see if I can get through this with two boys. And what you just said with the oat bars, I think these are all great ideas to implement.
And
And then
we
and then the carrying over the lunch to, I mean, the dinner to the next day as well.
oh
That
that's
eliminates the stress as well.
That really, really does. And I think if you start, the other thing to try and do is if you can start your day with a savory breakfast. And I know that sounds like but like we did at the retreat, you have a little bit of your granola or whatever it is you want. And this is for the boys and for children as well. So you almost have like a 2-course breakfast. And I know this sounds like I can imagine this, I remember it very well. Trying to get to school and think about breakfast is a nightmare. But actually, again, things like, I don't know if they eat eggs, but things like boiled eggs and it's surprisingly you can keep things quite simple. So if you do eat eggs, mashing up an egg with avocado is, rather than using mayonnaise, is a really, really good way of getting the protein but getting their fats in as well. They may not want to take that to school because it's a bit smelly. Eggs can be a bit smelly, but that can be great for breakfast in the morning on toast. You can make that takes 30 seconds. You can boil the eggs the night before, smash up your avocado, and they can even do it if they want to. Put it on toast and you've got your breakfast there. And that's going to keep them full for a long while, a lot longer than porridge or cereal. So that's a good way as well. The one thing that I do, which again, how passionate I am about children because of the nursery and stuff, and we do a lot there. But we do, what I've started is kids cook along workshops. So once a month, yeah, we either do it by Zoom or now we're actually doing it face to face. And I'm going to be launching a kids cooking subscription box. So it comes through the letterbox. And actually the aim of every cooking session I do with the children and with adults, as you said, is that explanation and the experience. So when we did, for example, we made crunchy chocolate squares on Saturday. I made it by Zoom, and I'll be doing it live in a week or two, I think 2 weeks time, here at the hub. But we used raw cacao. We used Peruvian cacao chocolate. And we had some maple syrup to sweeten it and some bits and things to add, dried fruit to add into it. And actually, it was the experimental scientific side of it that the children who were on Zoom loved. So they were great. They were like, Meera, we've tried the raw cacao. It tastes like wax. And this is an age range. So we had 3-year-old and we had like an 11-year-old. And I said, oh, yeah, it does. It doesn't taste of anything, does it? And they were talking about how it was a solid. And then we talked about how we had to melt it. And then it was, right, let's taste, because we're going to taste everything, smell everything. We were like, oh, that's horrible. That's so bitter. It's so horrible. And I said, well, that's real chocolate. Real chocolate is bitter. So what do you think they do to the real chocolate when you get it in a packet and it's in the shops? They were like, add sugar. I said, yeah. Can you imagine how much sugar they have to add to make it sweet? So we added the maple syrup to our sugar, to our chocolate, to get it to a point where it was still a little bit bitter, but we could eat it. And then we added the dried fruit because that would make it sweet. So, it was all of this experimenting, but actually it was also okay for them to say, I don't like it. So important for us to be all right with children not liking things. Doesn't mean we don't keep trying and keep kind of bringing it into, once a month into the meals, but it's okay to say, I don't like it. It's good because that means you know what you like and don't like. So they were great because a couple of the moms messaged me and said, no, they don't. So and so didn't like it, but the other one, they did like it, and it was great. I think it's so important to experiment and play with food.
Now, that's true. I think the more children get involved with the ingredients and with preparation of food, the more vested interest they have in it. And they get to try it, and at least they get to relate the ingredient to the effort, to the flavor, the end result, and they see it through. And then they can decide, yes, I like it, or no, I don't like it, because they've
Yeah.
actually been through the process.
Yes. Yeah,
Brilliant.
absolutely. Absolutely. And again, learning about sugar, or processed foods, that difference between the natural, how you make it naturally, and the process that's gone into manufacturing it in a very loose way. You're already just beginning to get that, not in a way to bring about any kind of issues with food or to bring
Yeah.
about anxiety with food, but just through education. It doesn't mean you can't have a Mars bar and you can't eat chocolate, but if you are going to, you know the difference. You know, that's the key. I think it's so important not to kind of go OTT, but just to make sure that it's in a very healthy environment where you can have those open discussions.
No, education is key, and I like your format and how you're teaching the children. You're giving them the whole feedback, but with the ingredients, the differences, so they're actually getting a good experience with the flavors, and you're giving them the comparison of the treats and the unhealthy food without really saying that's unhealthy.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
great, great.
yeah.
How often do you do the children's workshops? Is it monthly or is it every 2 weeks?
Yeah. It is monthly, but we're doing it sort of works out every 2 weeks because we do a Zoom version, and then we also do a live version in face-to-face version. So people can, if you're able to come, then that's great. You can do the face-to-face, but actually you don't miss out if you live further away. You can just access the same stuff via Zoom. So you either buy the ingredients, or we can actually send the ingredients out to you as well. So it's either way. And we do the same with the adults cook-alongs, but I think adults sometimes are a little bit more. I think they're sometimes a little bit more nervous than children about trying new things. So if it's harder, I think, sometimes to get adults to open their palate to different things than children. But children are great. They'll try anything, and they'll be so honest. They're like, "Oh, I don't want that." It's like I think they're fantastic. They just make me laugh.
They're cute. They're very, very sweet, and you have got your way with kids. But even the approach with adults, I have to say, at least your approach with us when we did the retreat was the education. So with every meal, you educated us on what we were eating and why we were eating at that time, the meal that you had prepared with those ingredients. So I think even with the adult cook along, that should be well received to an extent, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And
The adults who've done it have really enjoyed it, and
yeah,
they've actually been surprised at how easy some of the food is to cook, and B, how tasty it is. And it is stuff that hasn't been cooked with oil. It's a whole meal which doesn't necessarily have grain in it, um, and yeah, they're surprised. A lot of people, again, if you're a vegetarian and you try tofu, like, oh, don't like tofu because it doesn't taste right. But actually, when we do the workshop and and then they taste the tofu, they're like, wow, this is amazing. How did that taste like that? I'm like, well, you made it. You just followed the instructions, but you made it. So yeah, it is important, I think, to just experiment and try something new. Having a new vegetable every week, or a new herb or a new spice every week. Try something different. So important for your gut health and for your diet. Really, really important.
oh, that's lovely. That's really brilliant, Meera. This is quite dynamic in what you've shared. I am going to open it up. I'm hoping to see if anyone, our viewers would like to ask you any questions. If they type it in, I should see it on my screen. And if I don't see them on my screen, we're welcoming questions. Meera is welcoming questions, so you can contact Meera directly. Meera's website is meerabhogal.com.
Yeah, that's right.
Facebook at Meera's Made from Scratch.
Yeah, Mira's made from scratch. Yes, and Instagram is just Meera Bhogal, and that's where I'm probably the most active is Instagram. And also I do have a YouTube channel. As I said, there is some information on there, very useful information. I don't advertise it enough, but again, it's just Meera Bhogal. So yeah, I'm very happy to answer any questions at all. It's not a problem, because sometimes you think of things, even afterwards, and it's so much easier if you've got like something that's bothering you or whatever it is. It's like you said about the jaggery. There's so much misinformation out there as well. I think it's sometimes hard to navigate through certain things. And people try and make huge changes in their lives, all of at the same time. And that's also quite difficult. So it is about chipping away slowly, and making small, sustainable changes rather than kind of changing everything. Like I said, at the retreat, it was easier because we were giving you the food. It wasn't a problem. But if you tried to go home and recreate all of that again, you would have got into such a muddle, because you've got to live life as well as do all of that.
Yeah.
So, even if you went back and changed one thing, that would have been more than enough to start.
Yeah, no, what I recall you saying was herbs are vegetables as well. And that was like really stuck with me. So I love cilantro and I love basil. So that's in everything that I eat. It's either
Yeah.
cilantro or
Yeah.
sorry, coriander.
Cilantro. I knew what that was. That's fine. Yeah. Yeah. Other people may not, but yeah. No, and you're the same as me. Mine is that's a go-to staple in our house. But yes, so when you're not looking for your 5 a day or your 7 a day, across the week you should be looking at sort of between 30 and 50, if you can, vegetables. Or plants, as I call them. So it's a plant-based diet. That's really what a plant-based diet is. A plant-based diet is not a vegetarian diet. A plant-based diet is a diet which is heavily focused on plants. So if you take your spices, your herbs as plants as well, throw those into everything. You put garlic in everything, that's a plant. You put onions, that's a plant. But coriander, try. Like I went to the shops the other day and I thought, I haven't had this. I saw tarragon and I haven't had tarragon in a long, long time. I thought, no, I'm going to get that. It's about going out there and trying, as I said before, trying something new every week. You can just stick something new into your basket. Go into the seasonal section if you don't know what to choose. Go into like all the supermarkets online as well have the seasonal section, don't they? So you go into the seasonal section and just have a look, and just pick the weirdest thing that you can think of. Pick it, put it in the basket, and if you need to know what to do with it, phone me, message me, email me, and I'll tell you what to do with it. Because that's what I do. I love that. That's the most exciting bit for me. If you're bored cooking, one of the best things to do is go and buy something you've never ever seen in your life. You're like, oh my god, what do I do with this? And the children love it too. It's like, wow, what is that? It's great.
Yeah, no, that's great, Meera. And as all of you have seen, Meera is very approachable. So don't be shy. You can contact her directly. And I think you've given us some really, really great tips. And speaking, just to end on the note on colorful food, Meera and I are going to be talking about colorful food in October. We're going to be doing a session with how the different colors of food and the different groups of food correlate to the different chakras in your body, and how we're going to match up our chakras and the colors with the food to optimize yourself and optimize your health and optimize your wellness. So stay tuned for that information for October.
Absolutely.
And please follow Meera. You've got some great things going on. You wear lots of hats, but even in the cooking area as a personal chef, and you've done some great fine dining meals, I think for couples and people, and lots of lovely, lovely, lovely things with food. So please get in touch with Meera to learn more. I do have a question here. Do food affect our mood and emotions?
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, you've just heard Anupa saying we're going to be looking at the food and the chakras. And the reason we're doing that is because it totally affects your mood, your herbs. And so the teas, if we just go to the teas that I create, the whole foundation and purpose of those teas is that they are nourishing teas, that they're therapeutic. So in my, the basis of most of my teas are moringa, and then I play with what I put inside. So for example, with the detox tea that I use, which is actually more about supporting liver function, because our body detoxes very well by itself if we give it a chance. So it's more about liver function. I've got milk thistle in there. Milk thistle is hugely beneficial for supporting liver function. So it's that kind of thing where you're using food to promote to support the way that you're feeling. Again, with the rose tea's obviously got rose in it, but it's also got vanilla in it. And vanilla and rose are very, very calming. So if you're stressed and you're feeling really stressed out, almost a little bit more of a hormonal stress, I would say, but not you know, it's not male or female, but you kind of that sort of stress, and you just need a hug. You know, that rose and the vanilla combination is really, really calming. So food definitely has an impact on your mood, on your emotions, as I said as well earlier about mental health. If you are driven by sugar, and most of us are,
Yeah.
most of us are. There's very, very few people on this planet, I think, who are not, because of what we're given every day to eat, in the sense of the shops and stuff like that. We can't help it. Sugar will it does have an impact on your food. So if you've ever suffered from that up down, like, just before lunch, you're after breakfast, you're feeling really good, then you sort of slowly start to slump, and you need a coffee and you need something, you grab a biscuit or a cake, sugar, up we go, and then you slowly start to come down again, because you need another bit of something, and then you'll go and have maybe an orange juice and a sandwich or something, a bag of crisps, then you go up again. But by the time you've done that a couple of times, you get to the end of the day at about 5 or 6 o'clock, and actually it's even harder than ever. You get home, you're really tired, you're really exhausted. That's sugar. That's what's causing that. So if we can really be mindful of the processed foods and the refined sugar, start to balance it out, our meals out with fiber, protein, and fat, you will be able to control your mood and your productivity and energy levels through the day to be a bit more balanced. I hope that answered that question. I'm not. Um, was
I hope
that
so.
okay answer? But yes, food does. And I think if you tune into what we're going to do in October as well, you'll be able to see how the colors um, have an impact as well. So that's going to be fascinating. Actually, I'm really looking forward to that, because it's people don't think of, we don't think about food in that way.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and as you hit on the point of food, how it not just affects your moods, but the hormones as well, and the different areas of your body get impacted by what you eat and what time you eat it as
Oh,
well,
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
how much of it you
And
consume.
we're all different. And that's the other thing. We're all different. So I'm doing this Don't Pause for Menopause. I'm doing that 6-week program for women who are perimenopausal, menopausal, or postmenopausal, particularly, to have a look at how we can start to use food, diet, lifestyle to actually improve our health, so that we can reduce some of the symptoms that are coming about by this stage that we have in our life. But actually, with food, there is so much you can do. When you eat, what you eat, how you eat, um, is it definitely impacts on things like weight gain, fat gain, on mood, immune, bone density, bone health, all of that. So yeah, and we're all individuals. It's so important to remember we're all individuals. So if one of the other things is that I really, really don't like is breakfast is the best meal of the day, most important meal of the day. I don't like that, because actually every meal that you eat should be important. And you may be somebody, Anupa, who can't eat first thing in the morning. That's absolutely fine. Just eat when you're ready to start eating. I wake up, sometimes I'm hungry, so I will eat. More. Everything I seem to function better overall in the morning, and early afternoon, and then my body starts to slow down later in the day naturally. So you've got to take your own body's rhythm into account and be aware of that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's key. That's really key, is understanding. And as you said, mindful. You really understand who you are, what your body needs, and what your lifestyle requires, and you fit the food into it. And you've done a great job, Mira, with demystifying food, because food all of a sudden has become very overwhelming. The whole
Yeah.
subject of food, because there's this diet and there's the other diet and there's that diet, and you know I know all the names. I don't know the difference between one diet and the other, but I do understand now what my body needs. So I choose the ingredients I put in my on my plate, because I know I cannot function with certain ingredients, and I can, and I'm more productive and better with others. So that's really about learning yourself and learning who you are, what your body requires, and what your lifestyle requires from the food. And you've done a great job, Mira, of breaking that down for all of us. So thank you for
Thank
that.
you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Glad
So
that's
please, Mira's got yeah, look at her website for all of her events and all the
we've got
cooking.
quite a few events going on.
Involved. Yeah, get the children involved. So
Yeah.
meerabhogal.com has an events page. So
Yeah.
do take a look.
We've
And
got a lot going on this month. It is busy. It's very, very busy. But yeah, please do check in. And, if you're interested in any of the workshops that we do or any of the programs that we do, yeah, please feel free to message me and I'd be more than happy to speak to you. Thank
lovely.
you, Anita.
If you'd like to end with just a one sentence about food.
Oh my goodness. One sentence about food. Just, I think for me, just be mindful that every time you put something in your mouth to eat, whether it's to eat or drink, it is an opportunity to to energize and generate new cells that are even better than the ones that you've already got. So you're constantly improving your health. So just think about the food that you put in, and be mindful of it.
That's lovely. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you
Yeah.
so much, Anupa.
Thank you for
Yeah.
all of you that have watched this today and who will be watching it on replay, and looking forward to some lovely feedback and questions from all of you. Have a lovely day. Have a lovely day, Meera. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye, everyone. Bye, Anupa. Thank you.